Good morning, everybody. We have a full set of Leica Rs. Let's see, 19, 24, 35, 50, 60, and 90. That's a pretty solid set. Okay. Give everyone a minute to hop in here. Ah, that's hot. Hot, hot, hot. I'm missing a cup. That's okay. Oh no, empty. Let's try good old methanol. There we go. Good morning, Matthew. Pretty pumped up for this one. Good morning, John. Yeah, I always enjoy modding Leica Rs. I try to mix it up for the stream, but we get Leica Rs pretty often, and they are definitely among my favorite to mod, so I always look forward to them. And I believe this set is in really good condition. I haven't looked at them too closely. They went through another technician for the evaluation process, so this is the first time I'm seeing them. Oh, maybe not. This has obviously been modified and not in the correct way. Wow, that's a bit of a hack job. Bummer. Here for a year I didn't. Okay, good, Phil. You're on it. So hard to find 19. Yeah, this is the version 2, which is indeed hard to find. But this has been very DIY'd. Somebody obviously shaved the rear to accommodate like a metabones or a body that has a lot of internals, but that is not the correct way to do this type of modification. This looks like somebody literally filed the rear housing, which is not good. The glass looks great though, which is what really matters. Angle grinder and tape. I would at least hope that they removed this lock ring and the rear element before they took a file to it. But what it also does is it exposes the rear element. I don't know if it'll show up there. The rear element sticks out just a tad from the housing now. So if somebody accidentally put it down on the back, it would be put down on the rear element. So iris feels nice and clean, still very clicky. Focus feels good, which is difficult on this lens. These are notorious because they have a floating group. It does have a tiny bit of play. Nothing that would affect the final result, but worth noting. Filter reel looks okay. That oil, or that lubrication's a little bit dry. But nobody uses that these days, so it doesn't really matter. Phil, if you want to check that year, 3935064. Let's see what my notes say. $19mm. No specific date. Oh, what did I say it was? 393. So this would be post 1997. So I think they made this lens up until like the early 2000s. Must have been, because it started in 97 and they stopped making like R's around mid 2000s, like 2004, 2005. Okay. 2001, there you go. The anodizing looks great. The engravings are perfectly clean. No gunk buildup. The only sign of disassembly I see so far is this little rubber plug. Somebody obviously removed it to access that through hole. Otherwise it wouldn't be sticking out like that. So we'll see once we open it up. Very little wear on the mount. No brassing, just a little bit of gunk. And I can tell that this lens was used frequently on a Leica R camera because it has the scratches from the contact pins wiping across the ROM system. Oh man, did anybody, no spoilers, but WandaVision last night. If you haven't seen it, see it. It was doozy. Come on. I'm starting to think this has been more modified than I originally thought. Not by me. Alright, all of this looks original, which is good. But this aperture, that's concerning. Okay, that seems to be working normal. I definitely need to bend these. Problem is when I use them to grip stuff really heavily, they're supposed to be pinched in just a tiny bit, but when I use them a lot, they get bent out at the tips just a bit, so they don't actually grab with the tip anymore. So I can see it from here. It's not gripping the way it should. And once you bend them back too many times, they get pliable, they get soft, so they end up getting replaced. Yeah, these are about due. Should help a little bit. Yeah, much better. Almost no lubrication on here. Pretty dry. But that's okay. Hello, DVS. Alright, all of this looks pretty clean. I do see some old grease in this mobile ring and the chassis. But it doesn't feel bad at all, so I don't think I'm going to dive deeper. It's a little sticky. This might be worth a deeper dive. We'll see. After I lubricate the actual scale, if it doesn't feel perfect, then I'm going to dive back in. Mr. Rajput. Someday in the near future, I will be able to afford Leica set. Unfortunately, the prices on these have skyrocketed. They are not going down. Right now I have to pawn my kidney. Yeah. I do regret selling my set. I had a set of Leica Rs years ago, and they were supposed to be part of. Quick backstory there. For a minute, we dabbled in rentals here at Duclos Lenses, mostly just to other companies. So sort of like a sub-rental business. And the Leica Rs did okay for the smaller rental houses, but it just became a hassle every time they came back. They needed repairs. And we didn't want to step on the toes of our rental house customers, so we stopped renting them. And they sat on the shelf for a while. I'd use them periodically. And when I just stopped having time to shoot with them as much as I wanted to, we thought it was just better to sell them off. And these were... I regret it so much. These were a very special set. A little more backstory. If anybody's ever heard of the Dalsa primes that Dalsa Digital made specifically for their Dalsa camera. Well, I shouldn't say specifically, they were PL mount. Those lenses were simply rehoused Leica Rs. And at the time, Dalsa cherry-picked. They bought tons of Leicas, and they cherry-picked the Leica Rs to use for their Dalsa primes. They ended up going under, but they hadn't finished converting all of the Leica Rs that they cherry-picked. the set of Leica R's that I had, that Duclos lenses had, were Dalsa primes that had not yet been converted. So they were cherry-picked by Dan Sasaki, and then cherry-picked by us. We basically took what was available from that stock that they never converted. I don't remember who ended up buying them, but I don't know if they were aware they got a fantastic set of Leica R's. We didn't promote them in that way at all, so the person that bought them may not even know. I literally laughed out loud to find all A21 f2 glass going for 4 to... Oh my god. That's insane. You can thank Alex for that. And his rehousing. This looks terrible. I want to redo that. Oh my gosh. It feels good, which is what's most important. It doesn't look good. You guys can't really see it there. Looks terrible. To reiterate for anyone that just joined, this is not my handiwork. That's how this lens came to us. I would never do that. That is a machining shard of aluminum. Now you can't see that on the camera. Wow. It's just sort of tucked in the iris there. But that is original. When I say that's original, I mean that was a factory manufacturing defect. They obviously, you could tell because this is silver. They machine this part, anodize it, and then they machine it again. Usually when that happens, it's either so that you have a clean finish for a super tight tolerance, you don't want the buildup from anodizing, or you made a mistake in the design process and you had to fix it after the fact. Late to the show. No problem. There's no such thing as late. You can come and go as you please. Matt, what kind of mat? Hey Matt, what kind of mat are you working on? I've linked to it in the mod stream before, and I know I've seen a couple people that bought it. I'll find the Amazon link here in a minute. Feels pretty good. Hey Matt, do you at all deal with doing maintenance on lenses like this? Got a Canon FD2414 and Olympus 21-2 that are both exhibiting image shift when changing focus direction. We do offer CLA service for Leica R's, Nikon AIS, Zeiss, some sort of Zeiss contacts. We tend to steer clear of servicing FD lenses. And as far as the image shift goes, there's not a whole lot you can do, depending on how severe it is. Most of those lenses use what we call focus keys, and if those keys have worn out or if they've been stressed too much, that can create some of that image shift and play in the focus. But some lenses, it's just the nature of the lenses. The link to the mat, let's find that. Come on. Okay. So the backstory with this mat that everyone usually finds funny. If you search for service mat or technician mat or bench mat or something like that, you're going to get super overpriced, ridiculous, not actually useful mats. The neoprene desk pads are terrible for lenses. That's the quickest way to get your lens to slip out from underneath you because it's too squishy. This is a pet food mat. It's meant to put your dog bowls on, and it's got this lip around the edge so water doesn't spill out. But it's nice and grippy, not on the desk because it's got like a powdery layer underneath, but as far as metal on here, it's super grippy. And the lip helps if you happen to lose a screw. It keeps things from rolling. Or there's a lens here, for example. If you're maybe not experienced and you don't pay attention, the lens rolls away. It's got that little lip. It won't roll off your bench. So I find it very useful, despite it being a pet food mat. The other quick one that is extremely useful is silicone baking mats. Most of the technicians in the service area, we bought them baking sheets. They're a silicone baking sheet, and they have like not Kevlar, but they have some kind of woven material inside. So you can hit them with a torch, you can hit them with high heat, they don't melt. They will eventually, obviously, if you're hitting it direct heat with heat, but they work very well. Yeah, Ashtray, Zero Optic does them now. They look beautiful. Yes, I mean, everything that Alex and Zero Optic does is beautiful. It's hard to go wrong with a TLS or Zero Optic rehousing. Okay, that feels really nice. I don't see any need to dig deeper. While we're on the topic of Leica Rs, I believe we are a week or so away from launching the actual conversion kits that we install. We're going to let people start purchasing them. Because we've received so many requests since I started doing the mod stream, people just want to do it themselves. They don't necessarily want to ship it across the country, which I completely understand. But I will need to start warning people that these mod streams are not tutorials. I'm not teaching anybody how to do the installation, because we're very concerned about the potential legal ramifications. I just moved that. It's the only thing I didn't want to move, and I did it. The liability issues, basically. So they're going to start telling me to mention that during the mod stream, that this is not a tutorial, and you accept your own risk, yada yada yada. That said, if you guys do have questions or run into issues, you can always reach me. I'm always on chat or Instagram, etc. But I would say in the last year or so, we have seen a massive influx of stripped screws and people that attempted to do a mod, which is totally fine. I am all for the right to repair, which I think this falls under. It's not repair, but it's the same concept. I don't think any manufacturer or any service provider should ever prevent somebody from opening up their own product. So we want to give you guys the access to parts and products, but we cannot help you with the skills required for such products. That's all you. Oh, by the way, on the previous stream, someone was asking about all these companies copying Cooke cam-based designs, and there's another lens that was doing it before Cooke, I think. Well, so the Cooke focus cam design is really no different than what Cooke had been using in their zoom lenses for the zoom cam for decades, since the, I don't know, the 60s or 70s. Cooke and Ingenue. Cooke really just repurposed it from the zoom cam to the focus cam instead. So the cam-driven movement was nothing new for Cooke back when they made the S4s. The S4s were just the first lens that used the cam system in the focus instead of just the zoom. I have a loaner lens on hand, Lomo, Ekran, super speed. It was the exact same mechanism. Yeah, from 90. Okay. So it's the cam system is not new to the Cooke S4s. Good morning, Marson. Welcome back. Okay. Anyone have any advice for drying lens elements after disassemble and cleaning, or the best cleaning solution to use? They keep ending up with cleaning or drying marks on the glass. If you're getting cleaning marks on the glass, then you have bad chemicals. Or bad technique, or very dirty glass. I would recommend using, it completely depends on the situation, but acetone is one of our #1 cleaning solutions, but you cannot use acetone on lenses that have plastic housings, or, for example, this is a good example, this is all painted right around the rear element. If you have a surface with paint right around it and you go to wipe it, you're going to wipe off the paint with the acetone, which will just make a mess. If you're talking about the elements already removed from the lens, then yeah, acetone would be a very convenient solution. I've got Contax Zeiss coatings. You mean Zeiss lenses? The coatings are somewhat irrelevant. If the coatings come off with acetone, then they're shitty coatings to begin with. You shouldn't have to worry about that on any proper lens like Zeiss or Nikon, Canon, etc. Leica. Hi Matt, I was looking to get a 19mm V2 myself, but the unit I found was very uneven in the focus mechanism. It turned really easily for the first quarter inch of rotation before getting really stiff. That's not uncommon with the 19mm version 2 because it has a really complex floating element. If it has that stiff focus, yeah, I would definitely avoid it. This one is nice and consistent. Like I was showing earlier on, it has a tiny bit of play. You can hear it. But it's nice and consistent all the way. Maybe it gets a tiny bit heavy at the very end, but it's nice and consistent. So I think this is a very good model. Serviceable, or should I just pass on it? Yeah, definitely pass and keep looking. It is serviceable depending on the price you're paying for the lens, but if you're paying top dollar, you should not have to then have it serviced as well. Oops, jumping ahead here. How long on average would you say stills glass lasts before coming to terms with the rigorous nature of cinema work? I guess it's all just a temp solution. Oh, that's a good question. Because coming to terms with it's inevitable. Because none of these lenses, whether it's a Leica R, Zeiss contacts, AIS, FD, any of them, none of these were intended to operate the way we use them for cinema work. The torque that we apply to these with the motors, the focus stops in these were never meant to withstand that. The actual focus movement itself is probably fine for most lenses, but then when you add a nice heavy matte box that you hang off the front with 3 filters in it, yeah, you're going to tax that focus helix. It was never meant to be the support system for that much additional weight. But the focusing itself, I mean, these lenses were designed to be constantly focused by hand, so that shouldn't be a problem. But at the same time, I don't think that when Leica was designing these back in some cases in the 60s or the 70s, if you told that engineer at the time, hey, people are going to be using these lenses all the way in 2020, 2021, no way. That was unfathomable. Just like, and that's only gotten worse in modern manufacturing. If you grab any, I don't have any right around me, but if you grab any modern photo lens, like a Canon, Fuji, Sony, anything, it'll have a little recycle symbol with a number in it. And that is the number of years that that product is supposed to last before you recycle it. And it's usually 2, 5, maybe 10 years. And some of these Leicas are going on 50 years old or more. Even without the toll of cinema applications, these were never designed to last this long. Good morning, George. Welcome aboard. George is a happy Leica R owner, I believe. I'm going to find a Sony lens right now and see if it has that. I have actually, well, there's lenses on the cameras here, but I don't want to pull them off the camera. All right, here's a good example. This is, what is this? The macro, 60mm macro for micro four thirds. If you see that symbol right there, it's the two little arrows in a circle, and it has a number 10 in it. From my understanding, that means that Olympus and the governing body that mandates that label said that this lens, this product, was designed to last for 10 years and then it's recycled. Hey Matt, thanks for knowledge here on the streams. Absolutely. What are you using for screw thread locker? It looks like a custom mix. It is not a custom mix. I just put it into, we ordered giant bottles, so we divvy it up into smaller containers. It's just Loctite 222, I think. I don't even have the original. It's out in the service area. It's the pink stuff from Loctite. I think it's 222, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Especially the 19mm with character. You mean the version 1? My L series Canons list 10 years. There you go. So that's a newer. You'll find that label on consumer products. Some of the higher end stuff, like I just looked at that Fuji MK and it doesn't have the number anywhere on it. It might be on the box, maybe, but that might be a professional product, not a consumer product. But anyways, the purpose or the point is that if that governing body was around back when these were made, maybe they would have given it 20 years because these were pretty robust. But I don't think anybody would have believed that these would be used 50, 60 years down the line. What is this? 256? I don't know what these are. I don't remember. I designed this and I don't remember what screws they are. Yeah, 256. How do you release the Loctite after? Do you apply any solvent? For this particular Loctite, you usually don't need to apply a solvent. It's soft enough. We don't use the super hard stuff. It's just enough to prevent them from vibrating out of place. It's not meant to be permanent. But in some cases, solvent can help. This is really just a tiny bit to keep things in place. It's not going to lock it forever. Just took a look in my bags, even the C70. Well, let's face it though, who's going to be using a C70 in 10 years from now? It's going to be, I mean, the way cameras are going, it's a yearly, if not twice a year, upgrade path. There's some other adhesives that we use that we don't put on the threads. We put on the head of a screw. It's very common in Japanese lenses. It's started to become more common in German lenses. Different companies call it different things, but it's usually a softer adhesive. It's Loctite. When you break it away, it turns brittle. It's very powdery. But the adhesive that we would use on a screw head is very soft. It's very pliable. And it's the same purpose. It's just meant to prevent the head from rotating out with vibration. A guy I know says, never buy cameras, only rents because they get better every 2 years. It's true. It's very true. Lenses, though. Look at this guy, 50 years later. lenses are, as far as a tool goes, are a very solid investment. That was a very big shift we saw in the industry about 10 years ago when people started buying vintage lenses because they were trying to flip them. And then all of a sudden the market got flooded with new lenses, and people just started buying the new lenses like Schneider and Sigma and Sony cinema lenses. Those are a good investment as a tool for your craft. They're not an investment that you can flip a year later and make money on. That only applies to vintage lenses that are in high demand with a very limited supply. Alright, this guy is done. Full mods. Feels great, looks great. On that 19mm, attaching the front diameter ring will cover a FF sensor like mini LF Venice, etc. I have one from Cinemod and mine, it doesn't. If the Cinemod one doesn't cover, then ours probably doesn't cover because his is exactly the same. We'll leave it at that. You can guess whose came out first. I have been considering making a newer one that is strictly a step-up ring, not threaded. So you wouldn't be able to use thread-on filters at the front. So let me ask you this, Ash. Do you use it as a step-up ring for a matte box, or do you put 77mm filters on it? Step up from it. Okay, so the design that I have sort of on deck will accomplish just that. It will not have any vignetting on any format that this lens works with. So LF, Monstro, any of those. But I'm going to keep it quiet until we release it. Same thing for the Milvus 15mm and the Otis 28mm. We've had some customers saying, hey, I got this step-up ring for the Milvus or the Otis, and it doesn't, there's a little vignetting on the Monstro or Venice. So I have a design also on deck that I've been working on for a while. Actually, the Milvus one is not done. The Otis one is done. That will accommodate larger sensors. We used to make a 114 for the Otis. Phil knows all about that. The only reason I made it was because Phil said I need something with a bigger step up. That was basically tailor-made for Phil. But it was very expensive to manufacture, so we wanted to come up with a more affordable solution for the Otis. This bothers me. This is such a weird design choice. This entire focus scale uses the same font size, or the same character height, except for this M for the metric scale. This M is giant. Why? So weird. What is this? Photodiox? Not photodiox. This is Earth. What is that? What is Earth? Where do these brands come from? I guarantee that this is just a photodiox OEM solution. I don't even know if photodiox makes them. Photodiox might buy them from a different supplier. This lens looks practically untouched. This is beautiful. All of the plastic work here, the baffle, the mount is perfectly clean. The anodizing is fantastic. The paint engravings are untouched. This is beautiful. Phil, if you're still there, you want to do a year 3072338. Focus is a little heavy. It's got a little bit of lag when you change directions. Not bad though. Thanks for all the answers. Another Leica specific question maybe. My Leicas are declicked but now exhibit iris creep. Setting f2 will eventually become f4. What causes this? I'll show you when I open this one, but it's a giant torsion spring. It's very weak, which is why it creeps slowly over time, but there is an adjustment that should be made to the lens during the declick process. So we kind of keep that process private because it's one of the things that sets our mod apart from other lens shops that just sort of popped up. But you learn a thing or two when you've been doing Cinemods for 20 years. Are fungus-infected lenses salable? Saleable? Sure, if you have the right buyer. Some fungus is acceptable. Some it's minor and it's controlled. Depends on the degree of the fungus. We've seen some lenses where multiple elements inside have contamination and fungus, and it just destroys the image quality. And then we've seen other lenses that just have the very beginnings of fungus, and it's only showing maybe in like one little corner of the lens, or I should say edge. Not a corner. There's no corners on a spherical lens. And that could be completely usable. It may not even bother the potential buyer. So it completely depends on the severity, I would say. Anyways, back to your question, Ash. The creep is definitely fixable. I don't know if you did the mod or if somebody did it for you. If somebody else did it for you, you might want to either ask them to fix it under warranty, or you could always send it to us so we could do it properly. Oh, savable. Again, depends on the fungus. Depends on how severe it is. Some fungus can, if it's left long enough or if it's severe enough, it can etch into the surface of the glass More often than not, fungus is above the surface of the glass. It's on the coatings. It can etch into the coatings, which can sometimes be polished and recoated. That's always savable, just depends on how much you want to spend on it. That's up to you if it's worth it. I'm in Canada, so shipping is always a pain, but Iris Cube is way more of a pain. It was Cinemod. Cinemod has been doing mods for a while. He should be able to help you out. I hear many good things. Pretty much everybody has good things to say about Ron on the Facebook groups and whatnot. So I have no doubt that he would take care of it, or at least I would hope. Don't send it to me before you check with Ron. I don't want to take business from him. Ash, that you were asking about, or I mentioned the spring. It's kind of hard to see because it's so small, but right here, yeah, it's super hard to see. I don't have any light on it. See this tiny wire? I can't even grab it. Right there, this little wire. That's a spring, and that's what causes the iris creep. This is in fantastic condition. This has to be late 2000s. Very, very little signs of rubbing on the anodizing here. Other than that, though, it's in really good shape. I was told the only way to kill it is ultrasonic clean everything after a complete disassembly. You're not supposed to put glass in an ultrasonic cleaner. I would not recommend that. Maybe if it's... No, I would never... Don't ever put glass in an ultrasonic. We put parts in the ultrasonic, but not glass. What's your favorite R lens? Ooh, that's a tough choice. I would say that my favorite R lens depends on the format. For a full frame, probably a good old 50 Summilux. For Super 35, I'm going to go for the 35 Summilux. If we're talking about zooms, my absolute favorite Leica R zoom is the 70 to 180. How do companies do PL conversions? Do they add something to change the flange distance of the lens like a speed booster? No. Most of the companies that are doing a Leica R PL conversion are giving it an entirely new housing. So if you think about the actual core of the lens, you're just taking all of these shells off, and then you're left with the core, and then you put it into a different housing with a whole new focus mechanism, a whole new iris linkage. There's no way to do a conversion, I guess, yeah, there's no way to do a mount conversion without changing all of this other stuff around it. What about the haze type of thing on a lens? Can that be cleaned, removed, polished off? Haze can be a result of a number of issues. It can be element separation. It can be condensation that has gathered and cleared in the lens. It can be a outgassing from a grease that has deposited onto the lens surface. So usually haze can be cleaned off, but not always. And then sometimes it's just not economical. In a Summicron 50mm that's super cheap, well, relatively cheap, if the haze is between a doublet and the solution is to separate the doublet, clean off the cement, re-cement it, reassemble it, it's just not going to be worth the cleaning. It's going to cost more than the lens. I have a 24mm, which would need service to function mechanically again, but the front metal barrel is dented, so it's slightly oval. Not sure if one will be able to disassemble it all from the back. Got it for dirt cheap over 10 years ago, so I'm not missing it. It would most likely end up costing more than you paid, unless it's the version 2 28mm, which is pricier. Dented fronts on those are very expensive. It's better to find a replacement donor lens with the correct housing and just swap it. But at that point, you're already buying a second lens. You might as well just use the second lens. What sort of grease are you using? This is a Losoid type grease. I don't have the actual viscosity rating handy, but it's German. It's very high quality. It does not break down. As far as greases go, it's a relatively high temperature range. It's not meant to go in an oven or in the Arctic, but for normal use, it's about as good as you can get. We call it Pro 100, if you're interested. The 100 being the thickness, essentially. We have a couple of other grades, but we don't sell those. We sell the Pro 100 because that's the one that we use for most Cinemod lenses. I've seen lighter fluid come up as an often used lens cleaner. Do you know if it's safe for vintage coatings? Seems scary, but I guess acetone works. I don't know why anybody would use lighter fluid if simple alcohol is available. I mean, I would use denatured alcohol and acetone before I would use lighter fluid. I think that lighter fluid comes up often because it's one of those clever things that people think they're getting some sort of magical solution because it's not meant for cleaning lenses. But just stick with denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol and acetone for the heavy duty stuff. There's other chemicals that we use. This one that you guys see on my bench every time. I've been using this bottle for 20 years. The lid is cracked. The label's all worn off. This solution is a degreaser that we use, so it's really good for removing all of the lubrication. The red one that I was showing earlier that's empty, I've also been using for 20 years. It's all damaged here. I just need to refill it, but this is acetone. And then the other one that we use most often is methanol. So there's absolutely no reason, in my opinion, to use lighter fluid if you can get isopropyl alcohol, acetone. Unless you're in a country where it's prohibited, which I think somebody on the stream mentioned months and months ago, there's absolutely no reason to use lighter fluid. Whoops. Just pushed it out of place. Okay. if I send my Leica set R and you find any problem in it, fungus, marks, mechanical problems, do you warn me or just make the Cinemod? No. There is a very thorough process that the lenses go through. I don't want to show this client's worksheet. I've always been very careful about that, but you know what, I'll print out a blank one. Or you know what, okay, I'll print one and I'll remove the name. Give me 1 minute here. And I'll show you how the whole thing works. Or maybe we'll just cover it up. All right, since you asked. Let's see here. Redacted tape. All right, I think this doesn't show anything now. So the way it works, you go to our website, you fill out the equipment shipper, and you send the lenses in. When they arrive, I can't really show this either. The equipment shipper just shows us all the pieces that you're sending in, the lenses. And then this, which way do I show it? This is the worksheet that every lens gets. And the condition notes technically are on a separate page, but if there's anything that stands out, whether it's fungus or a scratch or a loose focus or anything, those notes get put on the corresponding worksheet, and then the additional work, which this set did not need, would go here under service, and you have the option to perform service work in addition to the mods. This set did not need any service, so there's nothing listed in that column. But then it'll split up the rings, the focus gear, the declicking, the mount conversion, additional parts that they're getting, and it'll break it down per lens, and then it'll give you a total. And this particular one had a rush, so it's a little bit of a rush fee. It gets a different label. The whole process is extremely thorough. You get full control over the whole thing the whole way. We can point out a bunch of flaws and say, hey, these are just here, they're not going to affect anything, we just want you to be aware. And you could just skip all the service. You're not obligated to do anything. And same with the mods. If you sent them in and you only checked the focus gear and declicking boxes, you don't even have to do the declicking. You could just do the focus gear. It's all completely up to you. We give you choices, the whole process. But everything's very well documented. Every flaw that we see is documented. We kind of have to do it that way so that we don't get blamed for anything, which is part of the reason why we show you so much up front with all the issues that we see, is so that we can say, hey, it came in like this, just so you know. Do you want to do anything about it? As a testament, they send you an email, details for detail, about what's going on with the lens, and offer to fix it if you want. Thank you, Johnny. Yeah, you had some lenses here recently, so Johnny knows firsthand. There's a whole, he probably did this whole thing. He probably filled out the equipment shipper, and then he got an email with all the notes the technician took. It's very thorough. And I know the mod stream can be kind of deceiving, because it's always just me sitting here at this bench, but there's an entire team of technicians down the hall there. I just started doing this when we shut down for COVID lockdown here in LA. So this is all that people see. But Johnny probably either got an email from me or Evan or David or any number of staff. And all of our staff are very, very good technicians. You should make some stream with them too. I might hand over the reins to someone else. The problem is I always do it on Saturdays, so I mean, there are technicians here on Saturdays. There's probably half a dozen here right now, but most of them... Oh, a lens from start to finish. Oh, you know what? If somebody watching the stream sends their lenses in and is okay with us showing all of the documentation and how that whole process works, I would do that. I would start from the moment the lens arrives from UPS or FedEx, and follow the lenses through every step, just to show people. It really does take a village. It goes through the receiving department, which is usually Fernando or Brianna. Then it goes to the technician to get checked. Then it goes to a technician to get actually modified. Then it goes to another technician to be QC'd. Then it goes to shipping, where they talk to the customer about what options they want for shipping. Then it goes to accounting for billing. It definitely is a team effort here. You guys have great communication. It's really awesome. They check. Yeah. Thank you, Johnny. I know I've mentioned it like 5 times the past couple weeks, but having been doing this for so many years now, we've really refined the process, and we try to make it as streamlined as possible, as efficient as possible, without sacrificing quality. Quality is obviously paramount. So that does feel a little snug still, this focus move. Just like I said before, at the ends, it's a little tighter than the center. And this is a good example I can pull up. I'll see if there was any notes. So that part doesn't get printed out because we don't necessarily show every little piece. But I can pull up the file for this lens and see what the technician saw. What is this, the 24? Yeah. 24mm. Focus heavy. There it is right there. Iris okay, image slightly decentered. That's a whole nother part of the process that I don't show on the stream, is all of the optical tests the lenses go through. They go on the projector, they go on the collimator. I don't show any of that because it would require taking my entire setup here and moving it somewhere else, but that's a whole nother portion of the Cinemod process. This also notes a minor haze under the front element, which I didn't see looking at it here, but the technician that inspected these first noted. Yeah, there you go. You could see it there. Well, not from that. Yeah. It's not going to expose properly, but you could see it a little bit there. There's a haze. There's a layer of haze under the front element. This is an extremely bright light, so I wouldn't expect you to be able to see it in normal circumstances. So that's the kind of thing. This customer was notified of that haze, which probably didn't actually show up in our optical tests, and we would tell you. I would say, hey, there's a haze, but it didn't change the performance of the lens. Okay, this one's done. Matt, if you still have my paperwork, if I still have it, I have paperwork going back to the late 90s. Feel free to use it, show them the details if you don't mind. Yeah, I could definitely pull yours up. Let's see. It doesn't come up. Was it a company name? That's odd. Yeah, everything that happens here is recorded. And not on physical paper, but at least in the cloud. Was this the EF2s? Or is that a different John Blevins? Is there two John Blevins? Yes, it was. Okay. Then I don't know why it doesn't show up with the and contacts. No, it doesn't. Unless it went through straight through service department, in which case you wouldn't have received the form that I just showed on the stream. If they were getting, because it looks like there was some stripped screws, that might have just gone straight to service department and not through Cinemod department. Yeah, that might be the case there. Nope, the same. Why isn't that showing up? Now I'm on a mission. And mod surface done to the 15. Huh. Yeah, I don't see it. That's so weird. Yeah, I did go through service department because it was, I see that, is this, no, yeah, that's it. Yeah, it definitely came through service department, even though you got the mods done, so your quote looked a little different than the others. Because you got emails from Laura, who's the service department advisor. But I'm glad you still had a good experience. That's good to hear. So it doesn't matter which department it goes through. Either way, they get that the same thorough inspection. Doesn't matter which department it goes through. The technicians get shared between both departments, so it's just a matter of where the primary communication comes from. All right, what is next here? 35. This one is also in fantastic condition. Very minor signs with the paint chipping out, but no brassing whatsoever. Wow. This is beautiful. Really nice focus rotation. That's really nice. Okay. I'm excited to see what the insides of this one look like. Let's start with the baffle on this one. What serial range are these lenses? They're all high serial numbers. This one's 33. The others were 30-ish. It seems that denatured alcohol is different than isopropyl. Do you not use isopropyl? We do use isopropyl and denatured alcohol. Denatured alcohol is just... denatured alcohol is essentially pure alcohol with poison added to it so that people don't drink it. What's the best place to find like our 19mm eBay? You'll probably find one on eBay, but I recommend websites like KEH much more enthusiastically than eBay. eBay's fine if you can't find what you're looking for elsewhere. But KEH has such a good, reliable rating system. I always recommend KEH first. Love my Leica R's. My 35mm Summicron-R with Leica EF adapter doesn't reach infinity. All my other ones are fine. What is the theory behind fixing this? Sanding down? No, do not sand down the Leica. Adjustments to infinity focus are done in a variety of ways on the Leica R's, depending on the specific lens. If your focus is short, we usually add shims if it's that type of lens. But on a lot of lenses, like this one, actually no, this one's a single focus, but a lot of them have a floating group, and if you just shim it, it's not going to be accurate. You're not going to have a good image. It does require internal adjustments, front focus and back focus. This lubrication looks fresh. I would say this lens rolled off the assembly line relatively recent. Okay. Mine is the later ROM version. Sometimes the difference in the mount versions, or the cam, the 2-cam, 3-cam ROM, those don't always equate to a different optical design. In fact, more often than not, they have absolutely no difference in the optics. It's just a difference in how the lens communicates with the camera. you know Lens Authority also. I bought my 18 from them for an amazing price, and they shipped it fast, and they're good too. I have heard of Lens Authority. I've heard good things. I don't know them or KEH personally. I have bought products from KEH before, and I've always had good service. I don't know that I've ever dealt with Lens Authority. So I don't have anything good or bad, other than people telling me that they're good. Of all the mods you've done for my Leicas. Oh, hey, Aaron. Is it Aaron or Aran? I don't know how to pronounce it. Would love to see you convert my 28mm live. I know you're probably just doing a set today, but if you're not, that would be awesome. Do you have, is your 28mm here? Is that in our queue? I heard that the Leica R2428, you just did the same design from Minolta. I don't know if that's true. I have very little experience with the Minoltas. I have some experience with the Rocors, but there are other stuff I'm not super familiar with. It is very possible, though. It's not uncommon for Leica to outsource manufacturing, despite their legacy and their reputation. There's a lot of companies that made lenses for Leica and just badged them Leica. Comparing Leica R and Contax Zeiss, which lens seem flatter in contrast? I've heard opinions pointing both ways, but I've only used the Zeiss myself. That's tough to answer. There's a lot of variables to consider there. There's no good way to say one has more or less. The Zeiss Contax lenses are a little more consistent across the range because they were produced in a smaller time frame, whereas the Leica R's go all the way back to the 60s. Let's say we assign contrast between 1 and 10 on any given lens, 1 being is super low contrast, 10 being it's very contrasty. The Leica R's would probably fill that entire range, being some super low contrast at a 1 and some being really nice and high contrast at a 10. Whereas the Contax lenses would be a much narrower grouping, maybe between 3 and 7 or something like that. So it's very difficult to say which one is more or less contrasty. I think if you had 2 specific models, I might be able to answer that a little more confidently. but the lens lines as a whole are very random. Do you think the 35-70 f4 match well with prime cron, as the design is one of the most recent in the R line? It matches well enough. I don't think it's a perfect match. I've never liked the 35-70 f4 personally. I know that it's a snooty opinion to have, or a privileged opinion to have, perhaps. But the 35-70 f2 is definitely my preferred mid-range zoom. But I'm well aware that it's very rare and somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000. Do you think it's possible to intercut two different brand of lenses, like Zeiss and Leica R's? Yes, absolutely. Especially with the proliferation of color correcting software. I think if you're not color correcting your project or doing any sort of post processing, then you probably don't care about color consistency or contrast or any of those features. But most of what we're, within reason, you're going to be able to correct most of that in post. If you're talking about intercutting a Sigma Art 105mm and a Petzval lens, obviously it's not going to work. If you're talking about intercutting two lenses from the exact same or from a similar era with similar features, similar speed, yes, it's doable. It's very doable. It will be a challenge, but it's very doable. What's good on Netflix? Anybody have a recommendation? I have not seen Mank. Has anybody seen Mank yet? already watched Mindhunter. I started it. That's who shot that? It was Chris Probst. He shot like the pilot, I think, or first couple episodes or something. That's Fincher, right? I think I watched like the first episode of Mindhunter. Yes, Fincher. I will definitely give that a try again. Yes, it's there. Oh, the lens. You're 28. So 28 you mentioned. Let's check that. Alps. Nope. Oh, it's done. Sorry. Your lens is done. Looks like that was... Who did that? If you haven't heard from them already, then you'll probably hear from shipping department on Monday. Yeah, that one was a rush job, so we did it super fast. But your lens is done and ready to go. Let me find that one because I'm gonna see if we have the oh, there it is. Yeah, just one lens. So the notes. So Aaron, I'll ask you because I couldn't find Johnny's paperwork. Are you okay with me sharing the worksheet that we sent you, or would you rather I not put that on the stream? Entirely up to you. I'm not going to share anything you don't want shared. The performance is spot on. The storyline is really good. I feel bad for the guy who played Bill. You got sick from it. Oh gosh. I've been watching WandaVision. Yeah, I have to say, obviously I'm a lens geek and a cinematography buff, but the set design, costume design, the overall art department on WandaVision is, they deserve so much credit. It's sad because sci-fi stuff like that usually doesn't get awards, but they've done such a good job. It is spot on. Every era that they've gone into has been just nailed it. And the subtleties. The subtleties in the cinematography, switching from, without spoiling stuff, switching from perspective to perspective is just so good. right, we need the mount. No, we don't. Just kidding. Okay. Do you like the 21 f4? Not really. If I had the option, I would reach for the 19mm any day, even the 19 version 1. Not a huge fan. Or if I needed to go longer, I'd reach for the 24. I don't see the 21 often at all. In fact, what is... Where's my... There it is. Yeah, the Super Angulon. We rarely see that lens come through here. I'm not sure if it's just hard to find or if people don't really like it. The 19mm is way more popular. 21 is too in between. Oh, sorry, I misread. Is it true that Zeiss super speeds don't cover full frame? Of course it's true. The super speeds were never designed for anything bigger than Super 35. The 50 and the 85 cover by chance, but it's definitely not meant to cover full frame. There's a video floating around YouTube that says the Zeiss Contax lenses are the same glass as super speeds, and that is outright wrong. That is inaccurate entirely. Super speeds are Super 35 only, period. I have a 19mm 2.8 version 1 with a little oxidation on the first element, only visible in very strong backlight. I want to buy a 21mm to complete the set. I already have the 24. I would say at the point that you're buying the 21 to squeeze in between a 19 and a 24, you're just a completionist. It could have its uses as far as field of view goes, but it would be few and far between, where the 19mm is too wide and the 24 is too long. What about the 21 f2.8 Contax Zeiss opinions? I think eBay sellers in Japan are trying to increase the market value for those by asking ridiculous prices currently. The 21 is nice, but if you don't want to pay the vintage Contax price, just go for the 21 Classic ZF2 or ZF. It's an almost identical optical design, and it will perform very similarly. Yeah, 4000 is high for that lens, for sure. Don't ruin the illusion for us. Okay, good. There was some YouTube video that came out and everyone was asking if we can convert Contax primes to super speeds for like a couple months straight. And eventually I figured out, somebody mentioned that they saw it on some video that it's the same glass. I said, no, I had to start telling people that this is just downright inaccurate. You can share my paperwork. Oh, cool. I'm just getting catch back up. Yeah, the address isn't on the form. So Aaron here, for example, sent in a 28 that's done right now. And on his notes, there was very basic stuff. Front element okay, scratch on element 2, rear element okay, internal contamination, a little bit of haze and scratches. Mechanically all okay. So we didn't recommend any service work for his lens because it was all just par for the course. But he got that same communication. He probably heard from Evan or David. And we would have gone through all that with him and said, okay, here's the price of the mods. And he would have said, looks good, go ahead. And from there it goes to another technician. Work gets done. So, thank you, Aaron. What do you think about mix Leica R and Leica M? I don't know how you... Fantastic. Good. Thank you, Aaron. That's our goal. Mixing Leica R's and M's. Leica M lenses, again, they go back, what, 70 years, 60 or 70 years? Well, I don't remember when the first M lens came out. So there's such a huge range in quality from lens to lens. It's impossible to say that it's a good or a bad mix. You can find certain models that mix well, but for example, take an early 60s Leica M Summicron and then mix it with a 180 Leica R from the late 90s. They're not going to look anything alike. You're going to have huge variations. Then you could take a modern day Leica M, say again a Summicron, and compare it to a Leica R Summicron, and they'll be relatively similar. I don't know what camera system you would be using that you could use both of those options on. Maybe a E-mount camera if you have a M-mount adapter. But the similarities won't be... you would still need to do some adjustments, some finessing. But the same could be said within the Leica M lenses or within the Leica R lenses. Even if you have a set of Leica Rs, you're going to have to do some tuning between the lenses to get them to match well. That's another very common misconception. Leica never intended for the R series to be a specific look lens to lens. There was never a discussion of matching the lenses during their design. It just wasn't a thought like it is with a cinema lens. Some nice anodizing. It's maybe not as shiny as the original, but I personally like a bit of a matte finish on the front to cut down on reflections. Yeah, so you could see there, like, these internal rings reflect a super bright, almost white light, whereas this stays very black. Some are the same optics. The 75 Summilux M and the 80mm Summilux R are the same lens. What? That's not possible. That's not... George, what? I would definitely need to see those two to confirm that. That seems highly unlikely because the flange depth for a rangefinder M lens is half, if not less, than that of the reflex Leica R system. They may have a similar optical layout with just a different flange focal distance design, but there's no way that you could interchange the optics from system to system. What is the most popular Leica R rehousing the Duclos service? We don't really do many rehousings these days. The only Leica R rehousing that we still do is the 70 to 180. And it's not super popular because it's very expensive. But as far as the mods go, we see pretty much every Leica R, aside from that 21 that I mentioned. We started doing I wouldn't consider it a rehousing, but for the M lenses, we did an E mount fixed conversion that we never really talked about. It was sort of a word of mouth thing. But I really liked that. I liked the way that those lenses came out. And very rarely we do mods for the R's. I mean the M's. In fact, I have kind of a prototypey one. I think I can show this. This was a concept for the M gear. So the issue with the M's is they have the finger notch, most of them. And to get around that, there's no way to just put a gear over it. So we came up with this intermediate piece here that then has the perfectly seamless solid gear on top of it. So it's kind of clever. It looks like a little cat ear. It definitely works well for its purpose, but then you lose your focus marks. It covers up the focus marks. It's not ideal, but for someone that needs to have their M lenses with a focus gear. Serial number on that 28. What 28? On the M lens? This 28 was not Aaron's. Oh, the serial number on the M. I don't know. 3913 is the first four. I'll give you that, Phil. That's another client's lens. Amazing this gear would work on the 40. So that type of gear would work on any M lens. We're just sort of tinkering with that idea. We haven't started offering it. Also 2001. Yeah, it's a relatively new one. There's a whole set of those M's that we're doing those gears for. Do you have same pics on the 45 to 90 with Duclos? I might. Let's see here. This guy is pretty much done. I'll set this aside. Okay, let me see if... Oh, I'm thinking of the ingenue. No, I don't. Maybe on Instagram somewhere from one of our old posts. I've been trying to keep more images of the work that we've done for the mods. Actually here. Oh, there's one for Phil in here. Let me see if I can share this here. So it's the Cinemod journal, but it's just sort of a summary of the modifications we've done to a wide range of lenses. So you just choose the category. You can just browse through all of them if you wanted to. Oh, there's the other solution for the so we were doing this type of notch, but that required some pretty significant machining setups. So the other solution was a little more streamlined. I believe this is Phil's, if I'm not mistaken. Your macro. What else do we have? Anybody that's interested in the mods, I strongly recommend swiping through here because there's some pretty interesting, unique stuff. This 200 to 400 was a nice one. Some pretty hefty gears. This custom front ring. It's just all sorts of. There's a 70 to 180 with some unique mods. Well, oh yeah, it's got the trimmed foot. Otis stuff, Rokinons. This goes back years. Tokina's, that was a good one. It's just the same lens. Voigtlanders, all sorts of stuff. Irix. This was before Irix was making the Cine lenses. We saw a lot of Irix stuff come in. So, yeah, definitely go take a stroll down memory lane there. To get there, you just go to our website, and then you scroll down right there, Cinemod Journal, and you just say follow along, and it'll show you, and you can just choose, like if you're really interested in Pentax Takumars, you go to Takumar, there you go. Oh, this is ridiculous. If you have a spare couple minutes, one of our staff wrote this whole fictional story about this lens. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom of Takumar. Anyways, feel free to peruse. Texted you lens diagrams. You texted me. So George says, okay, it's essentially the same lens. What am I looking at? M and R. This is a confusing diagram because it's not showing the flange. But that is very interesting. As I expected, the optical design is almost identical. It is odd though that so on the Summilux one, there's a second line. So the first vertical line, George, if you're looking at this still, that vertical line is supposed to represent the convergence where the iris would go. The Summilux R has a second line, and I don't know what that vertical line represents. That's an odd one. Very cool though. What book is this, or where did you find this drawing? Very interesting. Well done, George. Spoken like a true Leica fan, by the way. My two moments of pride with Duclos are Otis Cinemod Pro and Mamiya PL hard mount. Yeah, both of those mods are in the Cinemod journal, Phil. And are they 3D printed? I got them on sale and trying DIY job. Is what 3D printed? You lost me there, Johnny. Oh, about the follow focus gears. I got mine from followfocusgears.com and I had to heat them to fit the lenses. I heard about 3D printed ones are not good. Do you follow focus gears? None of our gears are 3D printed ever. 3D printing the gears themselves is not the best for high quality motion picture work. It's just going to lead to, unless you have an extremely high resolution printer like a an SLA printer or SL, I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, but most of the 3D printed gears that you see online are what's called FDM, fused deposition, and the resolution is just not there. It's going to leave bumps and jumps, and you can't heat them up because it will literally melt the plastic unless they're printed out of ABS, which has a higher melting point. But most of the gears that we see from places like Follow Focus or other cheap sources, they're made from PLA, which is just going to melt if you try to heat it up. So I really don't recommend those. The part that I just showed you on this lens, the inner part is 3D printed, but the gear itself is solid black Delrin. It's CNC machined, which in my opinion is really the only way to have a gear on a lens. You just can't get the resolution needed for 3D printing. Everyone puts Leica lens compendium. Ooh, I must find this. George, once COVID is all cleared up, we definitely need to compare notes. I have stacks of Leica R, or not even Leica R, Leica product catalogs ranging from the 70s all the way to the 90s. And they give a lot of really cool info. Both of those Cinemods led to much viewed content on a global level. Ah, can't say how much I appreciate and still appreciate those creative problem solvers. Phil, are you allowed to admit what content you're referring to yet? Or is that still NDA stuff? Which, by the way, I can't say it without outing you, Phil. How do I phrase this discreetly? Okay, Phil. In the past couple years, have you shot any large signs that say Hollywood? Okay. That one popped up recently, and Aubrey and I were both like, man, that's a beautiful shot. And I couldn't help but think, no, that's probably, you know who. The Tokina 35. Ah, okay. Once again, this lens is, well, aside from this bit of anodizing, chipping going on here, the paint on this lens is fantastic. The engravings are practically untouched. Focus is super butter smooth. Almost no brassing. The glass is perfect. I should have used this lens for the what do you call it, thumbnail. Yeah, for helicopter work, you usually hear people using zooms just because they don't want to deal with, you know, landing the helicopter to switch the lens and this and that. But yeah, it's a absolutely beautiful shot. Luca, we would be glad to help you. All right, let's dive in. getting windy out there. You can hear the ceiling creaking. Oh, get back on. I'm gonna have some coupon codes for you guys in a minute. What do you think about the DZO Vespids? Hang out and watch this stream, and then when you're done, go back in our YouTube history and find, what was that one called? Something like New Lens Roundup or something like that, where I go into detail about those, especially compared to some other lenses. I shot with them the other day with a set my friend bought from you. In summary, I will say that I am extremely impressed with the Vespid primes for the price that they are. They're not going to compare to Sigma or Tokina or Zeiss, but for the price, they're almost a no-brainer. I would say if you have something like, if you have a set like Sigmas or Tokinas or even Cinemod lenses, I don't necessarily see a benefit in getting the Vespid primes. Maybe if you have still lenses. But if you're the type of cinematographer that is maybe just getting into the game, you're shooting on Canon L series or other still lenses, and you need something a little more professional, a little more reliable, I think the Vespid primes are a fantastic stepping stone. What you get for that price, I think, is unbeatable. I dig them, they look dope. I personally use SLR Magic Apo Micro Primes and absolutely love them. That's probably the most common question that I get, is how do the Vespid primes compare to the SLR Magic? It's kind of a hard comparison, but I would probably give a very slight edge to the Vespid primes. George, it will not be a free Cooke S7, sorry. So, quick observation on this lens in particular. Every other lens that I've modded today, and in fact most Leica R lenses, have that machined finish surface right here, where the iris mobile ring meets the chassis, or the rear housing, sorry. This lens does not have that, almost as if Leica updated the design to do without it at some point. I don't know why. It's interesting, they look different enough to warrant their own use cases. Yeah. Personally, I really liked the look that the Vespids gave. I can't rightfully call it vintage, but they had just enough distortion, just enough chromatic aberration to make them, I guess, what I would consider less than perfect. And definitely had a unique character to them. By the way, this is the perfect morning. I'm spotting scanned film. Oh, nice. Great background atmosphere, by the way. I love the film. I hate the film. I just got, where is it? 2 new rolls of, there you go. Cine Still 50D. This should be some fun stuff. One roll is going through the camera that has my Kubrick lens, and then the other roll is going into my Zeiss Icon that's currently using a Zeiss, was it 50mm, I think? f1.4. I'm sure you've heard of Dew Lens. I have definitely heard of Dew Lens because everyone asks me, is that you guys? No. It is not Duclos lenses. It is not Dew Lens. My thoughts are they look interesting. They look promising. But I have yet to see production models. What is your Kubrick lens? It is a Zeiss 50mm f/0.7. Which is why I have the 50D, because that lens needs super low speed film. Barry Lyndon, yes, exactly. Well, no, technically no. The Barry Lyndon Kubrick lens was a modified version of the 50mm Zeiss 0.7. The model that I have is unmodified. It is original. No wide angle adapter, none of the stuff that Kubrick installed. It is essentially one of the original NASA units. What's your favorite Kubrick movie? Ooh, tough choice. I genuinely don't think that I could pick one. I know it's a very polarizing opinion, but I really like Eyes Wide Shut. I know it's not his classic work, it's not his most popular work, but I really like that movie. The Shining or Eyes Wide Shut. Yes, okay, thank you guys. When people ask me, I've been asked that a lot before. When I mention Kubrick, they go, oh, what's his best work? I know that Barry Lyndon is the movie that everyone thinks of when they talk about that lens, because it's the only movie that he used it on. Honestly, though, I don't like Barry Lyndon as a film. It's not enjoyable to me. I enjoy watching it for those scenes because it's historic, but I will watch Eyes Wide Shut any day over Barry Lyndon. (2001) classic. Can't go wrong with that. To me, most of his work was very poignant or relatively well received. When I think of Eyes Wide Shut, I always think of that meme that, it's absolutely no one, and then it's blank, and then Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut. Like, nobody wanted that movie. Nobody expected that movie. It's not a movie that anybody would have said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But it's fantastic. I've watched it on acid. Which one are you talking about? 2001? Eyes Wide Shut for the narrative. How many lines of dialogue are in that movie? Like 7? It was a tricky movie to make. It took forever. Wow, that's profound, Johnny. He's the reason you chose to become a filmmaker. I mean, if you're gonna have an idol, or I don't even want to call him an idol, because I know there's some questionable aspects to his life, but an inspiration, we'll say. You can be inspired by someone even if they're not a good person. Yeah, that's a good one to have. Clockwork Orange. Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Johnny. In the interview, Larry talks about the insane testing and control of every part of the image. They lit and exposed for exact printer lights. The film was graded in camera. That's, yeah. I mean, I'm speaking from experience shooting with this Zeiss 0.7 lens. Taking still photos is one thing. Taking 24 still photos every second, I can't imagine the amount of preparation and stress on set trying to do that successfully. Now I want to watch Eyes Wide Shut again. It's on Hulu? Ah. I'm going to have to add that to my list. I haven't seen it in a while. I've been trying to keep a rolling watch list. All the services, Netflix, Hulu, they all have a add to watch list. And I've been trying to populate each of those services lists so that when I have a free day, it's not a matter of swiping constantly or scrolling constantly. I just go to the watch list and pick something that I know that I've been meaning to watch again. Do you like a Clockwork Orange? I do, very much. Do you guys use Letterboxd? I don't know what that is. One day shows. I've shown it on the stream before. I feel bad breaking it out. It always feels like I'm just flexing. So I don't want to I don't want to pull it out every mod stream. What is Letterboxd? Letterbox. Top 3 for me: Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Clockwork Orange. Full Metal Jacket's a close second for to Eyes Wide Shut, but there's some scenes in that movie that just like get under my skin, which I think is sort of the intention of that movie. So I can't watch it too often. Social Film Discovery. What is this? Why have I not heard of this? As a kid, though, with Star Wars around, it had competition. Apparently, I need to sign up for this. Create account. Oh man, this is happening. I am not a robot. Okay, I have an account now. Tell us what you've seen. This is kind of cool. So do you... Help me out, guys. Do you add friends? How do I follow people? Following. I don't know how you find somebody. Members. Activity. No. Profile. There you go. You guys can all see my profile. Add me, I guess. I don't know how you add somebody. Okay. This is kind of cool. It's like Facebook for movies. All right, back to work. I am running out of time, so. I don't know that I'll have enough time to do. I have 2 more lenses, but I don't think I'll have time to finish them. Oh, I didn't even change the last 2 lenses. I didn't change the current lens I'm working on. We're on a 50, what is this, F2, I think. Yeah, Summicron. Just followed you. Oh, nice. Do I have my first connection? All right. By the way, if you want to see a movie that gets under your skin and lets an impact on you, if you haven't watched it, watch Come and See. Ooh, that sounds dangerous. I'm going to add it to my list now. How do I do that? $1985. Or are you talking about the 2019? These are both foreign. I don't know which one you're referring to. $1985. Okay. It's a good year. That's the year I was born. Added it to my watch list. Oh, this looks a little terrifying. I could I could watch this. All right. I did not thread right. There we go. This is snug. Why? Now, that focus is beautiful. Iris feels great. Okay. All right, let's get you guys a coupon code. Okay. There you go. Oh, why doesn't it make a link? What's going on? I don't know why it doesn't make a link, but go to lens-geek.com. And use LensGeek VIP, and you'll get free shipping. Some of the shirts are out of stock, so I strongly recommend scrolling to the bottom and signing up for the newsletter, because there will be more stock soon, and you'll get an email when there is. The Super Speed Cutaway is by far the most popular. In fact, let me pull this up here. Bam. There you go. Yeah, some sizes are sold out, but this one is by far my favorite. In fact, you can't really tell, but it's what's on the poster behind me. It's the same design. It's a 100% accurate cutaway view of a Zeiss super speed. Speaking of super speeds earlier. So definitely check that one out. There's going to be probably almost once a month there will be a new cutaway design among other designs. So again, sign up for the newsletter. It's not going to be a bunch of spam garbage. There will definitely be some cool designs coming up that I can't reveal yet, but I think you guys will like them. Anyways, I'll do some tidying here. All right. Yes, time flies when you're watching the mod stream, for sure. All right. Thank you guys again. Have a fantastic weekend. And I apparently have a lot of movies to watch now, so I'm gonna start with Eyes Wide Shut, rewatching that, and then I'm gonna see Come and See from 1985. And hopefully I don't have nightmares. Thank you guys again. I will see you next weekend.